Today we are going to start with a new chapter, Diversity in Living Organisms. Now, have you ever thought of the multitude of life forms that surround us? Now, before starting with the chapter, as you all know, diversity in living organisms means we are talking about variety of living organisms. We have millions of species, which are microorganisms, which are macroorganisms, and here we have huge variety. We are still not able to study them properly, right? These are almost approximately 1.7 millions of species. Every day, a new species may come, and many a times, there are so many species which are becoming extinct also, and that we do not get to know, right? So in this chapter we are going to find out that why it is required, right? Each organism is different from the other to a lesser or greater extent. For example, consider yourself and a friend. Are you both of the same height? Does your nose look exactly like your friend's nose? Is your hand span the same as your friend's? Of course not. If we compare ourselves with the monkey, we will say that yes, we have many common characteristics with the monkey. But here, as you know, that apes are our ancestors. So we are going to find out that why it is important to study the organisms. And what are we looking for, when we study them, what do we check, what are the characteristics that we look into. So these all things we are going to study in this chapter. Now, what is the need for classification of living organisms? Living organisms have evolved on the earth over millions of years. There is a vast variety of living organisms. Living organisms show a wide range of variations. Some microscopic bacteria are of a few micrometers in size, and some, like whales and redwood trees, are about 30 meters and 100 meters in size. So look at the diversity, look at the microorganism, look at the tallest tree. Some pine trees live for almost thousands of years, while insects like mosquitoes die within a few days. Some organisms are colorless and even transparent, and some are brightly colored. To understand and study all these organisms is highly impossible if they are arranged into different groups, right? See, if I give you, 100 toys, suppose, and if I tell you that you have to segregate them, you have to study their properties in 1 hour. 100 toys are there in a room, and I have allotted you 1 hour. Will you be able to, sort them out? Can someone tell me here, how are you going to sort these organisms, right? Sort these toys. Yes, definitely, children. It becomes very difficult for you to study these 100 toys in 1 hour, because 1 hour consists of 60 minutes, So if you take 1 minute also to study one toy, it will be very difficult for you, right? So what can be done, you can make groups. Now, on the basis of what? You can make groups on the basis of, the materials by which they are made, the mode of transport. Maybe, they are made up of plastic, some are made up of wood, some are made up of glass, maybe, and some are made up of fiber, some are soft toys. So you can categorize them on that basis from the material, right? And once you group them, it becomes very easy for you to understand their properties. If I talk about, your house, you have arranged your, textbooks, notebooks in your study room. At the same time, all the utensils are there in the kitchen. Do you bring utensils in the dining area? Sorry, do you bring utensils in the living area? Do you bring it in the playground? No, the utensils are kept in the kitchen, right? Your shoes are kept in the shoe rack, shoe cupboard. So here you arrange your things. Maybe, when your school was there at that time in the morning, you might be searching for your socks. Maybe you were searching for your notebook, textbook, which you might have kept somewhere else, not in your study area. So here, if you arrange your things, organize your things, you will be easily able to find them. That is why we have, kitchen, we have living room, we have study room, we have play area, so that things are kept there. Fine. So it is very important to understand and study all these organisms is impossible. So if they are arranged into different groups based on their similarities in characteristics, then it is very easier to study the different groups as a whole. Now, what is classification of living organisms? The arranging of organisms into different groups on the basis of the similarities. Children, please underline. similarities in their characteristic is called classification of living organisms. I'll give you one more example, child. So here, if I talk about your, friends, now on what basis, do you find friends, do you choose your friends? There is some guideline, there are certain rules, which should be, ticked, which should be cross checked, okay, if I want to make, friend, if I want to become friend of so and so person, now he or she should be, good in studies, he should play so and so sport well. So there are certain hobbies, which you might be sharing with your friend. So we have, certain commonness, and you can check your friend which are, best friends nowadays in your group also. You will see that you people think in almost same direction many a times, right? Your thought process may be similar. So you have some similarity, and that is why you people are together. Okay. Now, what is the basis of classification of living organisms that we are going to study now? Attempts at classifying living things into groups have been made since time immemorial. Greek thinker Aristotle classified animals according to whether they lived on land, in water or in air. Now children, if I talk about fish, if we divide the organisms on the basis of habitat, if I talk about fish and octopus, are they having similarities? No, right? So here it becomes, again it is misleading too. For example, animals that live in sea include corals, whales, octopuses, starfish and shark. We can immediately see that these are very different from each other in numerous ways. So habitat cannot be the only point which they share in common, right? So this is not an appropriate way to classify them. So therefore we need to decide on what basis we have to do that. So then we have to pick the next set of characteristics for making subgroups, right? Before we go on, we need to think about what is meant by characteristics. When we are trying to classify a diverse group of organisms, we need to find ways in which some of them are similar enough to be thought of together. These ways, in fact, are details of appearance or behavior. In other words, form and function. Now, what do we mean by characteristic is a particular feature or a particular function, right? That most of us have 5 fingers on each hand is thus a characteristics. We can run, but the banyan tree cannot is also a characteristic. So we have decided, we need to decide certain fundamental characteristics. Let us consider how a stone wall is built. Now the stones, they are of different size, different shape. So it is very difficult to make a stone wall. Right, the stones at the top of the wall would not influence the choice of stones that come below. On the other hand, the shape and sizes of the stones in lowermost layer will decide the shape and size of the next layer and so on. The stones in the lowermost layer are like the characteristics that decide the broadest divisions among living organisms, and they are independent of any other characteristic in their effects on the form and function of the organism. The characteristics in the next level would be dependent on the previous level. So stone wall, first layer will be irrespective, you will be searching for the same size, same shape, that you will not find. So, but if you talk about the size and shape of the first layer, what about the second layer? Now second layer of stone will be the shape of that will be decided on the basis of the first layer. Then the third one will be decided on the second, fourth layer will be decided on the third one. So this way here the stone wall will be made. The characteristics in the next level would be dependent on the previous one and would decide the variety in the next level. In this way, we can build up a whole hierarchy of mutually related characteristics to be used for classification. Nowadays, we look at many interrelated characteristics starting from the nature of the cell in order to classify all organisms. So here, these are the points on which we are going to consider them. First, whether they are made up of prokaryotic or eukaryotic cells, are they living singly or in groups, whether they produce their own food by photosynthesis or they get it from outside. Of the organisms which produce their own food, with what is the level of organization of their body, are they at cell level, are they at tissue level, are they at organ level, are they at organ system level and so on. And then of animals, what is the level of organization of their body and what are their special organs and their function. The characteristics used for classification of plants will be different from the characteristics used for classification of animals, because plants make their own food and animals get their food from outside. About the next topic, classification and evolution, right? How can they both be related to each other, right? If I talk about evolution, evolution is the gradual change happening in an organism, due to environment, whereas classification is a way by which we are classifying them on the basis of similarities, right. So, here we need to find out which is the basic species having a simple body structure, we need to identify that, and then we need to classify them. So, this is how they are related to each other. The present day complex living organisms have evolved from the earlier simple forms due to the changes in their body designs over millions of years. The body designs of living organisms are gradually changing due to the changes in the environment and the need to adapt themselves to the changes in the environment, right. When we connect this idea of evolution to classification, we will find some groups of organisms which have ancient body designs that have not changed very much. We will also find out other group of organisms that have acquired their particular body designs relatively recently. This is the first group of are frequently referred to as primitive or lower organisms, while those in the second group are called advanced or higher organisms. In reality, these terms are not quite correct since they do not properly relate to the differences. All that we can say is that some are older organisms while some are younger organisms. Since there is a possibility that complexity in design will increase over evolutionary time, it may not be wrong to say that older organisms are simple while younger organisms are more complex. But it is not so that older organisms are not able to adjust and adapt, whereas younger organisms are able to adjust and adapt. It is not the situation. If I talk about one single celled organism, they are able to survive well. At the same time, if I talk about dinosaurs, which were huge animals, most evolved complex animals, they are nowhere. They are extinct. So, here being older or younger does not decide the existence, right.